Hello guys, once again it's Matt, and today we have another video. Thank you all the members, all the patrons. Make sure to subscribe and let's get into it because I don't want this video to be too long. So, short explanation, Russian aircraft Tech 3, the future of what we can expect, okay? Just like I did with Germany and other nations. We have the interceptor line addition over here. This little thing means that it might be added or not, in my opinion. In our opinion, I must thank a Lazy Lime, one of our moderators in Discord, to actually help doing this image and also organizing everything. And this thing will basically be like a maybe. You know, maybe these aircraft will be added, maybe not. So let's just hop right into it because this video should be a little bit long. So rank 5, nothing too crazy can be added here. We might even see like a new MiG-17, but to be honest, I doubt, for now at least. The two aircraft that we can actually think about is the Tupolev Tu-128. This is the heaviest fighter ever built. It is 43 tons. It is basically a bomber that can do interceptions. So we have the normal version and the improved version. They both use the R4 missiles, and they don't have a cannon. The M would have the R4Ms. It's basically a 4G turning target missile, so it should turn around 10 Gs max or something like that. This should be like 5 Gs for the target, so a little bit better, and with a better radar. The radar should have around 30-35 kilometers of range, okay? For missile, if I'm not mistaken, and it has a radar version and IR version as well. So no cannon. Kinda limited, very good performance, but that's pretty much it. So we go for rank 6. Rank 6 pretty much the same. We have the bomber line and the interceptor line over here with some changes. The first one is the addition of the Yak-28P. This is the interceptor variant of the B variant of over here. Basically changes the bomb sight on the nose of the aircraft for a radar. Fairly good radar, more than 45-50 kilometers of range normally, depending on the size of the target. Uses the it's more of the R98 missile, and it's improved the variant. So kind of like an AIM-7D kind of situation of a missile, right? 20 plus kilometers, 30, something like that, and around 14-15 Gs of turning, okay? I don't know if he actually had the cannon that the B has, so if he doesn't, probably it will not be added. But if it do, I mean, it could be added. Then we go for the Su-9, of course, Su-9 being the interceptor variant of the Su-7s. Radar is the RP-9, very similar to the MiG-21's, PFs, basically. And basically uses 4 K5 missiles, and it can actually use a gun pod. The K5 is an 18G missile, but it has a limitation of being a beam riding, so it doesn't intercept the target. It basically is like an ATGM with radar guidance, right? It has around 30 kilometers of range, 20 kilometers of range in its radar, and it can also use the K-55, a missile that has basically this same performance as the AIM-9D as an IR version as well, okay? With a gun pod, might be very cool. And the Su-15, another maybe because it doesn't have the ability to carry any gun pods, but it has basically the same radar, but for the Su-15 of the Yak-28, the Oriole. And basically, it uses the same level of missiles, but also having a lot more performance than the Yak-28P. So basically, the improvement over the Su-9, right? Doesn't have a cannon, can only carry 2 R98s, same level as the AIM-9D, maybe the E levels of performance. So very early type of semi-active missile, 1964-65 version over here. So not the greatest thing ever, but still. And here, just jumping a little bit over here to the event, we can have the Su-11, which is basically the improvement over this one, changing the radar for a better radar, similar to the Oriole on these ones, the RP-11, so that it can actually carry the R-98. So it only carry 2 missiles, but it's a better missile than the Su-9, and it also technically can carry a gun pod as well, maybe as an event vehicle, right? And on the bomber side of things, of course, the MiG-25RB, the RB and the RBK are basically the same aircraft. The RBK would just have better cameras and stuff for, better RWRs and stuff for reconnaissance of AA systems, but it can carry basically 500 kilograms of bombs. So yeah, very, very interesting. Performance is crazy. I mean, Mach 3.2, max speed would be 3.4, but still, this is like pushing the limits of the melting point of the canopy, but still, has flares apparently, but anything else it doesn't. So it doesn't have missiles, doesn't have a cannon. Okay, then we go for rank 7. Rank 7 is pretty interesting. Yak 131, basically a trainer, for the Russians, 2010. It carries basically every single thing that the Russians have. It basically has a Kopio radar, the same as the Su-39, and it can carry R-73s, KH-29Ts, Cobb 500s. This is the light attack version, so it has armor on the fuselage and on the engines. So very interesting, a very slow aircraft, but it could be a very interesting option. For the MiGs over here, the MiG-23 bis. If the MiG-23 MLD gets its R-73, something must bridge the gap between the 11.0 MiG-23M and the future of an MLD with a higher BR due to the R-73, right? So the bis could be this one. It is a POV-only aircraft, so it is basically, it doesn't have air-to-ground, okay? But it is basically the MLA. It is one of the first ones, together with the P, that got the new better radars from the MLA, right? So it's very good, very good. R-24s, R-60Ms, everything like that. It has the IRST, so very, very good aircraft. Should be 11.3, while this one would be an 11.7, maybe 12.0 with the R-73, right? Su-25's TM, basically a domestic version of the Su-39, not much that I can say about it. The Su-15 TM over here, basically the latest version of the Su-15 from the 70s. It has the double delta wing design, better engines, better everything, better radar, everything like that. It is quite an interesting aircraft. I couldn't confirm if it has flares or chaff, but if it does, it probably will be an 11.0. It has the R-98M missiles, so it's quite limited, but should be at least on par with the R-23 or something like that, maybe a little bit less. But the thing is that this aircraft can actually carry 4 R-60Ms together with the 2 BVR missiles, together with 2 gun pods. So it can be a very deadly weapon with its performance. I mean, it's just a J8 with even more power, if I'm not mistaken, but just a better overall performance in turning as well. So amazing aircraft. Hopefully it's added. Hopefully, really. Then on the bomber side, Su-24, of course, Su-24 interdictor from the 70s, or early 70s, late 60s, right? For the Soviets, radars, air-to-ground radars, terrain-following radars, everything like that. It doesn't have any guided weaponry unless it uses the KH-58 anti-radiation missile. I think it's an anti-radiation missile, I forgot now, but still. And the KH-23. It has a TV system, but it's not usable for guiding weapons, okay? It still uses the SPO-10 RWR and basically can carry 8,000 kilograms of bombs and rockets and stuff. So it can be a very, very good bomber. It's just a very old version, so non-guided stuff mostly, right? And then obviously in the event tab over here, MiG-25P, I had to add it, right? This is the initial 1969, 1970 version. So it has only 4 R-40Rs missiles. You should have around, at least like 60, 70 kilometers of range against fighters in the detection of the radar, and around 30 kilometers, 40 maybe, of being able to actually attack a target with the R-40Rs. But for bombers, it can get to close to 100 kilometers of range, even more maybe. So yeah, no cannon, just 4 missiles. So it would be very limited for the meta, but it would be a very interesting aircraft. Doesn't have any type of maneuverability, to be honest, and no flares and chaff. So that's the major problem with this aircraft. You would need to just use its speed and stuff to outrun missiles and stuff. So just like an F-104 on steroids, basically, right? So very, very cool. And I mean, just being a very difficult aircraft to fly, probably should be an event vehicle. And then we go for the rank 8. Rank 8, probably will be divided into rank 9 in the far future, maybe even rank 10, I don't know. But we added just for the rank 8 just to be easier to talk about it. So first things first, let's talk about the Su-27s, the earlier ones. If they are added below the Su-17s, they might be added in other lines, but maybe they are added here. We would have 2 initial versions. The S variant, which is the 1980s version, with an early version and a late version. According to Gordon Yeffins, the late version should have some upgrades to it. So this one would have 10 pylons, 120, 130 kilometers of range on the radar. So yeah, 10 missiles, as I said, 6 BVR or 4 BVR with 2 R-27 ETs, together with 4 R-73s. Yes, it can use the R-60Ms, even though they were not normally used, but it can for training and stuff they used. So if they want, they can add without the R-73 technically. And the late model would be basically the same aircraft, but with 2 upgrades, 2 extra pylons for BVR weapons, so 12 missiles, and also the addition of an upgrade to the radar, basically a bypass upgrade to the radar, because these radars are not programmable. But basically it would add the addition of the R-77 missile, and also the addition of being able to fire 2 missiles at once. Everything else is basically the same, okay? And from there onwards, we can talk about the Su-33. It would be basically a middle between these two. It would have the canards to help out in takeoffs and stuff, and it would have the extra power on the engine. But everything else is basically the same as this one, but with the 2 extra pylons. So it doesn't take the R-77s, but it has 12 pylons for missiles, okay? And then it would go for the MiG-29s as well. They're going to talk about it a little bit later, okay? So here on the SUs, we would have the Su-27 SM, which is a complete overhaul of the Russian Air Force already. So this is Soviet, this is Russian. You know, the Su-27 SM would be a complete overhaul to the aircraft, new avionics, glass cockpit to a certain point, you know, better overall systems like a new RWR, better radars. You know, it's still a pull-stopper radar, nothing electronic scanned, but still it is pretty, like, way better with air-to-ground modes and stuff. Of course, some of them would still be able to carry only 10 missiles, and technically maybe some of them could carry 12. It's really hard to confirm it. As I said, there isn't much of a source confirming everything, but we kind of have to guess a little bit together with the few information that we have, for example, with the confirmation of the Su-27S, right? So, yeah. And basically, it would be like that together with some multi-mode stuff. So you would have an air-to-ground mode radar together with multi-role kind of situations with better missiles and stuff for air-to-ground. This is just dumb stuff, right? Non-guided stuff. And then obviously we would have the Su-27 SM2 and SM3. The SM2 would be the major upgrade with a way better radar, you know. I think it was already a PESA radar, so it would be way better on that sense. Better engines, better avionics, and the SM3 would be even better with a full glass cockpit and even stronger engines. So this would be the logical step up for these aircraft, right? And with these, obviously, you would carry the latest models of the R-77, the -1, and also the R-74's, right? Which are the upgrade to the original R-73s, right? So yeah. These ones probably would carry the R-73M or something like that, and then afterwards the R-74, 74M or something like that, right? And obviously the Su-35, we need to talk a little bit about the Su-27M. It was basically a major upgrade to the original ones, so they can actually add a fully PESA radar to it in the 90s. The objective was that this one would substitute these aircraft in the production line of the Soviet service, but the Soviet Union collapsed, and this was basically just a pre-production like fully production kind of situation. Only like 10 of them were built, but still the things that they learned with this aircraft, the PESA radar, the rear radar, it's a radar that can actually detect missiles coming to the target, to you, and also aircraft for you to actually shoot missiles at 180 degrees. You know, all of that were developed for this aircraft and the Su-37 as well, technology demonstrator, right? All of these technologies were used in the Su-35. So the Su-27M is basically the prototype technically to the Su-35. So PESA radar, everything like that, very cool premium aircraft or even an event vehicle. And the Su-35 would be the most modern 4th generation aircraft of the Russian Air Force, right? So 4++, you know, PESA, radar, you know, 12 missiles, thrust vectoring engines, the most strongest engines ever, the ability to carry every single missile that they can carry, the R-37s, R-77-1s, R-74Ms, everything, you know? So very advanced aircraft. And then, of course, the 5th generation Su-57, obviously don't even have to talk too much about it. As a radar, the Bielka, 400 kilometers of range, you know, thrust vectoring engines, not that stealthy compared to other 5th generations, but still very capable aircraft with 12 pylons, 6 inside the aircraft, 6 outside the aircraft. And also, I mean, can carry basically everything as well that the Russians have. Air-to-ground, air-to-air, everything, right? TV guided, everything. So this would be the major line for the Sukhois. Of course, we have the B-placed one. So we can have the Su-30, which is basically a 1990s version, a B-placed version of the Su-27. So it was basically the PUs, which was basically an interceptor variant. So it should not have any air-to-ground initially, at least, but it would be a very interesting aircraft nonetheless. It would be very similar to something like the Su-27S late, but with a big place, basically, right? And then, of course, the Su-30M2, basically the upgrade to the original M that wasn't really used in the Russian Air Force, apparently. But basically, it is the same level of the SM's kind of upgrade to it. Is more used to training today, but still, it is a fairly capable aircraft. Still doesn't have anything crazy, like technology-wise, still kind of the same radars. Still has the 12 missiles, R-77s, everything like that, and it has the ability to do air-to-ground fairly well. But then we have the ultimate version, which is basically an Su-35 B-placed, which is the Su-30SM. So you would have the thrust vectoring engine, canards, the beta PESA radars, the bars, and Irby's radars technology, 12 missiles, R-77s, but it can do every single thing as well. Can carry even the R-37, if I'm not mistaken. All of these aircraft can carry, if I'm not mistaken, Kh-29Ts, Cobb-500s, cruise missiles, anti-ship missiles, anti-radiation missiles, everything like that. All of these can take, okay? And it would be the ultimate variant. And then, of course, let's talk about the MiGs. The MiGs have still the original Soviet variant, so we have the MiG-29S from the original version. So that would have basically a new radar with the ability to carry the R-77, still 6 pilots, still kind of the same aircraft, but that's pretty much it, together with an addition of a new flight control system to be able to pull more AOA. And then we have the SMT, which is basically the SMs of the MiG-29, right? A 2000 upgrade to the original MiG-29s, making them a more modern aircraft. They increased the fuel, especially glass cockpit a little bit, better radars, better missile equipment, better missiles itself, better weaponry, air-to-ground modes for the radar, so that it can actually do air-to-ground, anti-ship, everything like that. So yeah, and of course the MiG-29M. This was the original version to improve these versions, just like the Su-27 was. The MiG-29M was to be substitute on the basically production line at the MiG-29s. Complete redesign of the aircraft. Internal fuel capacity was increased for around 40% to the original 912 version. Almost a PESA radar. It's not really a PESA radar, similar to the Yak-41, basically the same radar but with more range. R-77s, 8 pylons instead of 6. Air-to-ground modes, completely multi-role, so we can do anti-ship, anti-sea, anti-radiation, everything like that. The most modern version. And of course, we have the naval version of that, which is the 931 MiG-29K, the original 1980s version. So basically the same aircraft with the tail hook and the folding wings, okay? And then obviously the later models, basically the improvements over these ones, they made it these two. So a proper 4+, even 4++, technically, generation aircraft, PESA radars, fully PESA radars, 8 pilots, both of them, fully multi-mission, anti-ship, everything that they can do. The performance of them, of course, increased with new radars, new flight control systems, fully fly-by-wired. All of these were fully fly-by-wired, just like the Su-27M was, and I think these ones are as well. So yeah, just overall, nothing to say about it. I mean, 4 pilots, PESA radar, even a ESA radar can be used in the MiG-35 and on the MiG-29K. So just the most advanced MiG-29s ever made, right? So very, very cool. And then obviously we go for the attackers, the interceptors, Su-27 SMs, obviously upgrade to the original Su-25. So this one was just an overhaul to the aircraft so that it can defend itself better. So better WRs, better missiles like the R-73. Everything else is basically the same in the air-to-ground role. The SM-3 would change the nose for a thermal imager. So it has a TV system for TV-guided weaponry, and the SVP 24 system, a CCRP, very advanced CCRP system. So yeah, these ones would be the latest Su-25s. And then of course, to continue with the interceptor lines, MiG-25PD, same as this one, but with flares, better radars, and better missiles, with 60 kilometers of range in the missiles and more than 100 kilometers of range in the radars for bombers. MiG-31s, don't have to talk about too much. I mean, basically the improvement over the MiG-25, right? A gun, now it has a gun, PESA radar, has the R-33 missile, semi-active homing missile, but the radar PESA can lock 4 targets at once. This was the original variant. It can also take the R-73s, R-60Ms and stuff, such R-40s as well. So yeah, it could carry 6 missiles or even 8. The B variant would be the improved variant from the late 80s to have the R-33S, a better ranged version of the R-33 and a better radar with air-to-ground modes. The MiG-31M would be basically what the Su-27M and the MiG-29M are for the original aircraft as well. So basically improving the radar way better, you know, having the ability to be kind of multi-role as well. And also having the ability to carry the R-37 in theory, right? Or at least carrying 6 R-33Ss instead of the original 4, right? So way better missile aircraft. It was basically cancelled just like the other ones due to the fall of the Soviet Union. And the MiG-31BM was basically an upgrade, just like the SMs are, just like the SMTs for the MiG-29s, for the original MiG-31s, right? So basically making as close as possible without changing the aircraft itself, right? So he still has the same pylons and stuff, but it has a way better radar with multi-role positions inside, you know, so he has air-to-ground radars and stuff, so he can do basically everything. And then we go for the bombers, MiG-25BM, SEED variant, so anti-radiation missiles variant of the MiG-25, technically could carry R-60 to protect itself, and it has flares and chaff if this is added only due to anti-radiation missiles being added, right? Su-24M, 1980s version of the Su-24. Overall, the major thing is that it adds the KIDA system from the MiG-27K, the TV system, so it can guide laser-guided and TV-guided weaponry, and also it has the first IR MAL system of the Russians, right, of the Soviets. So very, very advanced aircraft, better radars, better everything, but the main thing is guided stuff, okay, and better defense systems. The Su-24M2 would be basically what the SMs and whatever are for the Su-24, so just a very, very late modification to it, 2000s modification, right? So better RWRs, better radars, better weaponry, everything like that, right? And the Su-34 would be the ultimate fighter bomber for the USSR, being the ultimate flanker for it. Really, really, really good multi-role aircraft, you know, it's very successful on that role. It has a PESA radar, rear radar as well for attacking targets behind you. Canards, you know, a B-placed version, but with one on the side of the other. Very cool aircraft. I mean, it can basically carry everything. I don't even have to say. Anti-ship, anti-radiation, unguided, guided TV, guided laser, BVR, R-77s, R-73s, R-74s, whatever you want to add it to it. Maybe just not the R-37. That's pretty much it. Everything else it can carry, and it's a very, very good aircraft for air-to-ground. And then we have the premiums and event vehicles. The Su-27UB would be basically a trainer for the Russian Knights, very similar to the Su-27S or the original Su-30s. And then we have these two premium aircraft, the MiG-21-93, basically an upgrade in the 90s for the MiG-21 bis. Already have a whole video of it. Uses the copy radar of the Su-39. It can take the R-77s and stuff. New countermeasures, everything, just a full modernization of it. New canopy, everything like that. And the MiG-23-98, the last aircraft that we're going to talk about because this video is already too long. It's basically an upgrade to the original MLD. So the Mosquito 23 radar was installed, apparently, having air-to-ground mode, so it can do air-to-ground as well, guided air-to-ground like TV and stuff, cockpit completely overhauled, R-77s, R-27s, R-73s, HMD as a standard, right? So yeah, this one was actually used by the Indians, and this one, I don't think it was actually used. It never got to be sold, this package. But this is it, guys. This is the Russian Tech Tree. As you see, I try to be as quick as possible. You can research each of these aircraft on Google to take a proper look on it. Because if I actually did a video covering every single aspect of every single vehicle, the video would be more than an hour long because each vehicle has its own unique features and stuff. So I just try to be as quick as possible, and still this video is 25 minutes, right? So yeah, hopefully you understand it. Hopefully you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe and let me know what else you want to see. I'm planning to do the US next. So let me know what countries you want to see, okay? I see you guys on the next one, and bye. See you.